Hi, welcome to this session on crafting your personal wellness plan, brought to you by your Ascension Employee Assistance Program. My name is Erin, and I'll be sharing this information with you today. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle is challenging for a variety of reasons. Some people are balancing really busy schedules, some people have lack of motivation. Maybe there's inconsistency in healthy options being available in your area. For some people, the challenge is social pressure, life stressors, and there's more, right? There we could probably keep going with this list. All these different hurdles can make it difficult to make healthy choices and to find balance in our lives. Creating a personal wellness plan can help us crush the barriers that we're experiencing to living that healthier lifestyle we'd like to live. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Um, Creating that wellness plan. To do that, we are going to learn about the dimensions of wellness. We are going to reflect on your current wellness practices and identify any hurdles that you experience. And we're going to explore the different tools needed to create a personal wellness plan. So when we are done with this session today, you will not have a completed wellness plan, but you will have all of the tools that you need to create your own wellness plan. So you'll have what you need to sit down, reflect on your wellness, where areas of growth, areas to continue, and you'll be able to put that wellness plan together. I am going to reference two handouts throughout the course of the presentation today, and both of these are posted on our EAP website with our Lunch and Learn information. So I will go ahead and once we get to those handouts, I will explain to you where you can find those on our website. And then the very last slide in our presentation today lists our website as well. So you'll be able to get to our website to find those handouts if that is something that you think would be helpful for you. The handouts are just they're just optional. They are just tools you can use, but if you want to, you could also continue through your wellness plan process without them as well. Okay, so just know that's an option if you're interested. It might be a good place to start by talking about what wellness is, right? We're talking about creating a wellness plan, but what does that mean? So, wellness is a process. It's a process of reaching our full potential. Wellness includes our lifestyle, all aspects of our lifestyle. So, this can be our mental areas of our lives, spiritual well-being, physical well-being. Wellness is really a positive thing. And it really empowers us to live long, healthy lives. So, wellness is a good thing that we want to try to foster in our lives, and a wellness plan can help us do that. So, how do we measure wellness, right? If we want to create this personal wellness plan, it's helpful to have an idea of how we're currently doing in terms of our personal wellness. But how do we get that information? Where do we get that from? So, there are some objective ways that we can measure wellness. These are going to be based on fact and include the things that are seen on the screen here, right? We can measure all of these things. We can measure or calculate our body mass index. We can calculate or we can measure waist circumference. We can take our blood pressure, right? Have labs to find out what our cholesterol and our blood sugar levels are. We can stand on a scale and take our weight. So, those are all objective measures of wellness. And these are important. Um, and they're one part of measuring wellness. Another part of measuring wellness are subjective measures. These are not rooted in facts or numbers. They're really measured based on personal opinion or feelings. Some subjective measures are listed on the screen. These include how happy we are, satisfaction in the social, spiritual, or work areas of our life, overall satisfaction with our life, the meaning and purpose that we find in our life, how we respond to the emotions that we experience, and more. Okay, so we've got objective measures and we have subjective measures, and these both can provide some valuable insight, but they don't give us quite the full picture on our personal wellness. When we look at objective measures of physical health, or of the objective measures that are listed on the screen, they all relate to our physical well-being, our body, our health, which is an important component of wellness, but there's definitely more to it. The subjective measures are opinion-based. We don't really get numbers or what we call quantitative data to help us measure these areas. So it can be difficult to measure change or improvement. Like it can be difficult to notice change in how happy we are over time or how satisfied we are with our life over time. So it can be difficult to measure change in those subjective measures. So, to help with a more comprehensive assessment of our overall health and well-being, we can use something called the Dimensions of Wellness as a guide. You might have heard of the Dimensions of Wellness before, or maybe not. Maybe this is a new concept to you. So, we're going to take a minute to talk about these dimensions of wellness. So, the dimensions of wellness provide a model for assessing, reflecting, and helping us set goals to improve our overall well-being. Each dimension is each dimension identifies a different area of our life that contributes to our overall health and well-being. All of these dimensions are interconnected. So the idea is that if we make changes and improvements in one area, that will have a positive ripple effect throughout the other dimensions of wellness. Okay. There are many different wellness models available, and some have 6 dimensions, some have 8, 10, or 12. For the purpose of our presentation today, we are going to be using the National Wellness Institute's 6 dimensions of wellness model. We're going to look at that in a minute, but regardless of whatever model you use, they all provide a holistic approach to health and well-being. So that means that the models look at the whole person rather than just focusing on one aspect of wellness, like your physical health, to determine your overall wellness. So let's take a look at these 6 dimensions of wellness. Again, these are the National Wellness Institute's 6 dimensions, and they're fairly straightforward when you look at that list. I'm just going to briefly mention what each dimension encompasses, but based on their title, you might kind of be able to infer what they refer to. The physical dimension puts an emphasis on our physical activity, on movement, fitness, sleep, relaxation, and just maintaining an overall healthy lifestyle. The intellectual dimension can kind of be thought of as lifelong learning. In this dimension, it's all about stretching your thinking, growing your knowledge, challenging yourself in both intellectual and creative pursuits. Occupational wellness refers to the satisfaction that we experience in our work, and whether the work that we're doing is consistent with our values, with our beliefs, with our interests. Spiritual wellness refers to search for meaning and purpose in life and existence. This one, for some people, spiritual wellness can be very rooted in faith and religion. And for other people, it's very different. It's more of a meditative presence, a spirituality, being present in the moment, pondering the meaning of life. Social wellness, this refers to our relationships that we have, right? Our family relationships, our partner relationships, our relationships with friends and coworkers. Social wellness also includes like how we're involved in our community and how we take care of other people or how we think of other people. And then last, emotional wellness refers to how we navigate our feelings. Do we have acceptance of our feelings, how we manage our emotions, and our behaviors when our emotions are high or we're in an escalated emotional state? So these are the 6 dimensions of wellness that we're going to be looking at for the purpose of this presentation today. But just know if these 6 dimensions don't feel comprehensive enough for you, that's okay. You can go online and you can search for other dimensions of wellness. Like I had mentioned previously, there are other models that have more than just these 6. So if you feel like it would be helpful to use a model that has some emphasis on financial wellness or environmental wellness, certainly go ahead and check out those other dimensions or these other models that are available out there to see if one might be a better fit for the wellness plan that you want to create. Okay, but we're going to be thinking about these six dimensions for this session here. So looking at those six dimensions, just take a minute to reflect on what dimensions you might feel strong in, like which ones are you doing well? And what dimensions do you think could use some improvement? Okay, so think about that for just a minute. Which ones do you do well and which ones could use some improvement? How do you know, right? This is different for every person. Sometimes it can just help to reflect on our experience, how we're feeling, what we're doing. Some people might recognize they feel tired or they have poor focus, they feel burnt out at work, they might feel they lack purpose in life. Other people might feel like they're doing a great job spending time with friends and family, or they're really nurturing that spiritual side of themselves in connection through their church. Or some people might feel like they're really doing well with work-life balance, and they're doing the things they need to do at work, and they're doing the things they need to do at home. So it looks different for everyone, but it can be helpful to just take this quick check-in to look at how we're doing within each of these dimensions, because if we don't have awareness of how we're doing, it's difficult to make change, right? If we think we're doing great in all the areas, then we might not be able to identify places or spaces for us to make some changes or some things to incorporate in our wellness plan. But if we can have some reflection and some insight on areas that we could grow or improve in, that could be helpful. So this just reflecting um, on how we are operating within these six dimensions of wellness is helpful, but this is more of a subjective measure, right? Right now, we're just kind of guessing which ones we are strong in and which ones could use some work. If you would like to bring some, I don't know, some structure to this assessment process, I would definitely invite you to use the Six Dimensions of Wellness Self-Assessment handout that the National Wellness Institute has. And so that's a picture on the screen of what this handout looks like. And this is the first handout that's available if you would like to use the handout with this presentation. If you would, you'll be able to go to our EAP website. I'll tell you what that is right now, but it will also be listed at the end of the presentation. So if you don't get it right now, that's okay. Our website is www.ascensioneap.org. Okay. So this handout is posted there. This handout is really neat because it's a self-assessment. So you can go through and assess yourself within each of these six dimensions of wellness. So the first page overviews the dimensions, explains what each one is, just what we did a minute ago, but that information will be there for a review if you'd like it. The other pages 2 through 4 is where the self-assessment happens. And so on the self-assessment, you'll go dimension by dimension and you'll be asked six different questions about that dimension. And then you'll be able to rate your response to those questions using the numbers that are on the screen there, how often you engage in that activity or how often that question, you know, you do whatever that prompt is in that question. And then on page 5 of the handout, it walks you through a summary of the results. Okay, and so it'll have you go through and it'll walk you through how to summarize those results, and it will also help you choose the priority dimensions that you would like to work on. So um, that'll give you a nice way to just kind of say, okay, this is the one, or these are the two dimensions that I'd like to focus on in my wellness plan. Okay. So again, if you don't have this handout right now, that's okay. It will be available on our website. And if you don't find it on our website, you can always go to the internet and just search for the National Wellness Institute, Six Dimensions of Wellness, or Six Dimensions Self-Assessment, and you will find this handout. Okay. So that is a really great way to assess and collect some information on what might be those priority areas. Okay. And that can be helpful in creating the wellness plan. Now, here we've got the stages of change. Stages of change and having some knowledge of the stages of change is really helpful when it comes to making changes in our behavior. There's this general process that people go through when they're working on making any kind of behavior change. Um, and so that's what we're going to talk about now because sometimes we have a desire to change. If you're here today watching this video, you likely have some desire to start making some changes or to create this wellness plan and put it in place. And so this can be useful information in how you carry through with approaching those changes. And so I just want to explain this for just a couple quick minutes here. But the whole idea is that we go through some distinct steps or stages as we're making change. And so this process starts up at the top of the screen with the pre-contemplation circle. So when we are in that stage of pre-contemplation, the person, like we have no intent on changing our behavior. The person is really not aware that a change needs to be made, and it's just not even on their radar. Okay. With some time, they might move into contemplation, right to the right there. The contemplation stage, this is where we start to become aware that a problem exists. Something needs to be addressed, but we might feel really uncertain about what to do or how to take action on it. Okay, so that's contemplation. Then we pass into preparation, right? So when we are in the preparation stage, this is where we really start to become intent on taking some action. Okay. We start making some small steps toward making that change. So, for instance, if I was wanting to increase exercise, this might be where I start getting some ideas on what I would do to make time or to incorporate more exercise into my routine. Maybe I'm buying a new pair of shoes and figuring out where in my schedule it would fit. I'm looking for somebody who might be an exercise buddy, or I'm getting a membership at the gym. Okay. So some of those pieces are what goes into preparation. That preparation stage obviously prepares us to take action. So when we are in this action stage at the bottom of the screen here, this is when we are taking action to modify our behavior. So we are currently making the changes. We're engaging in the behaviors that are right that we are wanting to change. So we will stay in action for a little while. Okay. There's no set amount of time. It's not like I can't say you'll be in the action stage for 3 weeks or 3 months. Action, all of these stages are different for everyone. Some people pass through certain stages more quickly and stay in other stages a little longer. There's no right or wrong way to move through these. It's an individual process. But once we've been in that action stage for a while, we start to move into maintenance when the actions or the behaviors that we've been doing start to become just normal behavior for us, right? These new behaviors replace our old behaviors. So getting up at 5 in the morning to go exercise before I go to work is normal. Going for a walk at lunch, it's just normal. It's something I do. I don't even have to think about it. It's just part of my routine now. So this is when the new behaviors replace the old. So the idea is that I think when we think about making behavior change, we get to that maintenance stage and we just kind of want to hang there, right? Like, okay, this is our new normal and this is what we're doing, and we're in this maintenance stage. And that's great. There are times, though, where we might relapse on our behavior changes. So, for instance, if I have a really busy week one week, there's a lot going on at work, a lot of deadlines, a lot of evening meetings, activities for the kids, family events. It might be really difficult for me to maintain that positive momentum, right? Those new behaviors that I have worked so hard to incorporate might be difficult to hold on to those. And so I might fall back into my old patterns of behavior, and that would be a relapse. Some relapses are very short and, right, maybe a difficult week at work and just lots of life things happening. I have a week where I just can't keep up with the exercise, but then I get back on track and kind of slide back into that maintenance phase. But sometimes things happen that really maybe are a bigger relapse that might bounce us back to like the contemplation or preparation stage. And that's okay. That happens. That happens to everybody. So sometimes we feel like relapse is a failure or that we've done something wrong. And that's not the case. Really, relapse opens up the opportunity for us to learn and grow. What led to that relapse? What could I have done to prevent that relapse from happening? What skills or strategies do I need to prevent a similar relapse in the future? So we build and we grow that knowledge that helps us when we get back to maintenance because now we have some additional information, right? When I hit these hurdles, here's what I'm going to do to help stay on track and prevent falling into relapse again. Okay. So this is a really important process to understand when it comes to behavior change. It's also helpful to spend some time thinking about hurdles. What are the challenges or the hurdles that prevent you from living that life of health and well-being that you are wanting to achieve? Right? These are going to be different for everyone too. Maybe write the pictures on the side of the screen. Maybe kids at home, right? They take time. We love them, but they just definitely take some time. And sometimes that can take away from the time we have for ourselves. Work, right? Sometimes balancing work and home can be really difficult, or if we have a demanding job or lots of deadlines. And bottom is a picture, right? Sometimes we're caring for aging family members, and right that the time and the attention and the presence that we need to have with them takes away from time that we can devote to our well-being. So think about what some of those hurdles are that you might be experiencing, and what, if anything, you might have done to try to overcome those. Okay. And we're going to spend a couple minutes talking about hurdles because they definitely happen. One of the most important things you can do is recognize what those things are that throw you off course. Um, if we can't identify what those things are that throw us off course, we are going to be powerless to try and prevent them from throwing us off course when they come up. So it's important that we be aware of them. It's also important to develop coping strategies to help manage the stress and emotions you experience when you do hit that hurdle, right? That can be a really stressful experience. And sometimes the stress of those things alone can be enough to kind of push us towards relapse. So having some good stress management or strategies to help manage the emotions that come with relapse can be helpful, or the hurdles that can lead to relapse. Review your goals and be sure that they are realistic. Adjust if needed. So, if I set a goal to go to the gym 6 times a week, because I'm trying to increase physical activity, but at the same time, my schedule just doesn't really allow that to happen very well, then my goal isn't realistic. So I might need to adjust my goal a little bit. Maybe instead of going 6 times a week, maybe I can successfully go 4 times a week. Okay. That's okay. Sometimes I think when we need to review goals, we also think of that as failure. That's not failure. What you're doing is you're setting yourself up for success. And so if you're trying the goal that you set and you feel like it's not realistic, definitely adjust. Build resilience to bounce back and work through changes. So when we go through something that's difficult or something that's hard, we build resilience. Okay. And then it's easier to do those hard things the next time they come up. So, for instance, again, with this exercise example, if I do have a really busy day and I'm back-to-back work meetings and I have kids need something before school and there's something going on after school and I'm not sure how I'm going to fit my exercise in that day, right? Being intentional about how I'm going to handle that could be helpful. Maybe I'll cut my workout down at the gym from an hour to 30 minutes, or maybe I'll go on a walk at lunch, or maybe I'll give myself the grace to flex my workout to a different day. But whatever I do to work through the challenge of that busy day and how it's going to throw me off course with my exercising, that will help me build resilience. So the next time I have a hard, difficult, or challenging situation where I can't figure out how to fit my workout in, I'll have grown some resilience to know and feel confident that I can handle that and I can stay on track. Okay. Seek support from people, right? Family, friends, coworkers, or EAP. EAP is a great resource for behavior change, for working through challenges, for developing coping skills, managing stress. A lot of the things that we're talking about is these hurdles. EAP can be a great resource for that. Another strategy that can help when we hit roadblocks is shifting our mindset. Sometimes we get so focused on the negative or the challenges that bump us off course that our progress gets hindered. So, shifting our mindset can help us stay on track. Okay. Um, Focusing on the positive things will help increase motivation. Okay. Sometimes when we're focused on a goal, we're looking at the things that we're missing or the things that we're lacking. But if we can shift that to focus on the positive, we can see all that we're doing, and that can feed that sense of motivation. Take care of yourself, right? Make sure you're getting enough sleep, you're eating good, you're taking breaks as you need to. If you get depleted, if your energy is low, it's going to make it really difficult to work through challenges. Like we're just not going to have the mental or emotional capacity to work towards our goals if we are physically and mentally drained. So taking care of yourself is helpful. Harness your imagination to find creative solutions. Sometimes, right, the normal, typical solutions aren't working, they're not helping. Um, but maybe something outside of the box will help you conquer that challenge that you're running into. If you're having a hard time thinking of out of the box solutions, it can be helpful to just brainstorm with someone else. Somebody else can bring a completely fresh perspective to some of the hurdles that you might be experiencing and have some different ideas that you haven't thought of. Show yourself some self-compassion, right? Kindness and self-compassion. We are so hard on ourselves. We are so critical of ourselves. So if you're running into challenges, treat yourself like you would a friend or a family member who's experiencing that same hurdle you are. Chances are you would show that person a great deal of kindness and compassion when they run into a challenge. And so it's important that you show that same self-compassion to yourself. And then last, gain momentum by tracking progress. If you haven't been tracking progress towards your goals, it can be really helpful to do that. Sometimes the goals we're working on are easier to track, like how many snacks we have in a day. And sometimes they're a little bit harder to track, like if we're working on reducing feelings of anger. But finding a way to note your progress will help you see the effects of your hard work, the progress that you're making, which can be incredibly motivating when it comes to changing behaviors. Okay, so far we've talked about wellness. We've talked about some self-assessment of those dimensions of wellness. We talked about that process for changing behavior. And we just talked about managing the hurdles that we experience. So we're going to slide into right now the idea of creating your personal wellness plan. Okay. So this handout that you see on your screen here is the second handout that is available for this presentation. This is also on our EAP website. So I will share that location with you at the end of the session. If again, you don't want to, or you can't find this handout, you don't need this handout. The next few slides are going to walk you through the information that is on this handout. So if you don't have it, you can still continue creating your wellness plan if you maybe jot down the next couple slides and what we'll be talking about. Okay. So once you've got all of this data from your self-assessment, you have identified what your priority areas are, you have started to kind of pull together some pieces that could be included in your wellness plan. This is what you're going to do to start creating that plan. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to consider the things you're doing that you want to maintain. Like what health or wellness related things are you currently doing that you want to maintain? Maybe you are really specific or really consistent about making sure you get to bed at a certain time. Or maybe you are really good at making sure you get some fruit or some vegetable each day. Or, right, maybe it's maintaining a work-life balance. But think about what these things are that you're already doing well. Okay. We don't want to lose those. We don't want to stop doing those. We want to acknowledge the effort we're putting into those and maintain them. Okay. So write those down once you know what they are, or as you're in the process of creating your wellness plan. The second step to creating that wellness plan is to consider the dimensions of wellness that you listed as medium or high priorities on your self-assessment, and then pick which ones you'd like to focus on. Okay. When you are thinking about this, I would really encourage you to pick like one or two dimensions to start focusing on first. Um, so you can go through and look through those and consider what those priority items are for you. Okay. So what are those areas? If you create, or if you were to pick more than one or two, you'd be juggling potentially a lot of different things that you're trying to change behavior on. And that could be that could lead to feelings of overwhelm. It could lead to difficulty meeting the goals that you set for yourself. So if you start small with just one or two dimensions, that will help increase your success as you move forward with your wellness plan. Okay. Then the third thing you want to do once you've identified what those priority areas are is you're just going to want to set a couple SMART goals for those activities or those dimensions. Okay. And that will be part of your plan. Okay. If you haven't heard of SMART goals before, SMART goals. This concept is a model that helps us create goals that are well defined with really clear parameters that makes it easy to track our progress. Okay, so if we're writing a goal, we're writing a SMART goal, we want that goal to be specific, right? So we want to know what we need to accomplish or what actions need to be taken. We need that to be measurable. Okay, so we need some way to quantify our progress so that we can track our progress towards our goal. Okay, if it's not measurable, we might not know that we ever meet our goal. We need our goal to be achievable. So we want to set realistic and attainable goals given your resources, your skills, and your circumstances. We want the goal to be relevant, right? We want the goal to align with our overall objectives and priorities. So, if I am again working on that goal of fitting more exercise in, then the goals that I'm creating, we want to be connected to that, not something that's not at all connected to increasing exercise or knowledge of exercise. T, time bound, your goal just needs a defined deadline for completion. Okay. So, for example, if I want to incorporate stress management strategies to help improve my emotional wellness or my emotional wellness dimension, my goal might look like this. Okay. To manage feelings of stress, I will practice deep breathing once a day for 5 minutes before bed. Okay. So that is specific, that's measurable, that's achievable, it's relevant, and that is time bound. Okay. So if you haven't worked with SMART goals before, that's okay. It might feel maybe a little bit new and maybe a little bit awkward at first, but practicing writing SMART goals can help you increase the success that you experience with your plan. Okay, so then you've got everything that you need to put your wellness plan together. Okay, once you've got your goals, you've got your priority areas. Maybe I said that backwards. Once you know what you want to keep and what you want to continue, right, you're going to review and assess your progress. So you're going to make changes and adjustments as needed, right? If you're on track with your goals, that's great. If you are feeling like you're having some challenges meeting them consistently, kind of look through those goals and see if there's any need for adjustment, right? Anything that needs to be changed or adjusted to help you be more successful with them. Assess and review and make some changes, and that's okay. You can do that. It's your wellness plan. There's no right or wrong way to do it. So here are those 4 steps to creating your wellness plan. These are the slides that we just reviewed. If you're not using that worksheet that I mentioned or that handout that I mentioned, that's okay. These are the 4 steps that you would just need to walk through to create your wellness plan. So if you'd like to write these down, you can hit pause on the video and go ahead and jot these down so you have them for the future as you're working on creating your wellness plan. Okay. So we've talked about a lot in this amount of time or in this video today. We've talked about that wellness self-assessment, how to prioritize different dimensions of wellness to include into your plan. We talked about those stages of change, different obstacles that we might experience and some ways to overcome those. And then we have those 2 handouts, which I'll explain where to find those again in just a minute. So we covered a lot of information. All of this, these are all the pieces that you need to create that plan on your own. And I just want to, as you're kind of embarking on this process to create your wellness plan, I just want to point your attention to this visual here. To me, this is so powerful, right? Never underestimate the importance of small steps. This is really big when we're setting goals. Right, that person on the left, their ladder, they've set some, probably maybe some loftier goals that are a little bit harder for them to reach. And so it's going to be harder for them to climb their ladder. And so as you're putting your wellness plan together, make sure that you're thinking about what your goal is, but also what are the small steps that you can take to reach that goal. Okay, if we can break our goals down into smaller steps to help us reach our goal, that will help us be more successful over time. Okay, so here's our contact information, Ascension Wisconsin EAP. You can reach out to us if you have any questions about your EAP benefit. If you'd like to know more about what it is, you can certainly check out our website there. If you, excuse me, if you would like to call or email to learn more, phone number and our email address are on there as well. To find those 2 handouts I mentioned, they will be on our EAP website for the duration of 2026. So if you go to www.ascensioneap.org, okay, that's where you'll find our homepage. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see information, a tab for lunch and learns and rest and relaxation sessions. If you click that, lunch and learn option on the left, and then you scroll down to our February lunch and learn on creating your wellness plan, you will see the links to those 2 handouts on our website. Okay. I hope this information was useful for you today. I hope you gained some good insight on how to approach the concept of creating a wellness plan and some things that you can do to help get there. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. And I'm so thankful that you could join us today. Thanks for your time.